Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the World Championship Series. This is the Premier League. We are live once again from Katowice in Poland for the round of 16, the season finals. And joining me on the desk, as always, is of course In Control. And this morning, you've joined us every morning actually, it's Todd.
Morning, Todd. The passion is that strong that I want to be back there every time. Actually, it's just kind of you telling me I need to be here.
Yeah, because you're the best. That's why we have you here, Todd. You're an expert.
That's not what you say off camera, though.
That's actually completely true. I'm really sorry about that. We're here to bring you the third day of the World Championship Series. Let's take a quick look at the tournament structure, the season so far. As everyone knows, we've traveled from America to Germany in the round of 32, but we've been left with just 16 players that have traveled with us to Poland. Right now in Katowice, but soon to be in Krakow this weekend, where we will crown the Season 3 champion. We've had Pult, we've had Hydra, but who is it going to be this time? Let's take a quick look at the schedule, because over the last couple of days we've had a lot of fun, but we have a lot more fun to come, because this weekend is the playoffs, and more importantly, we also have the Legacy of the Void official release of the cinematic. It's going to be a great set of games and a weekend to come. Let's take a quick look then at this graphic. Here we are. We are on Thursday, the third day of action. It is Thursday the 10th, and today we finish the groups A, B, C, and D. We have 2 matches from each group, and it is elimination time every single time, and then decider match to see who goes through in second place before we make that awesome trip to Krakow this weekend, Jeff.
Where we'll be joined by Tastosis.
Oh my god.
Chobra. We only get even bigger and better over there.
I can't wait to take a selfie with Tastosis.
Well, I mean, that's the first thing we're going to do, obviously.
Are you excited to see Chobra?
Yeah, it's the best. He's the best.
He is the best.
It's that simple. And the level is going to be raised once again with more and more better talents. No offense, boys.
Hey, none taken, Todd. You're here.
And we'll and we also have a live audience joining us for this weekend as well, where we will crown that Season 3 champion. And whoever gets crowned number 1 also takes home a whopping $30,000 first place. There's been a lot of money shared for the players this season. Every season we have $217,000 just for entering the Premier League. You get $4,500 and it scales all the way up. But most importantly, especially today, is the WCS points. First place takes 2,000, and we can take a closer look at those points, as today is a very, very important day for a couple of players. And In Control is going to walk us through that in a second. We have players who need wins.
We have 4 players in particular to keep a really close eye on. Jadong, 4GG, Lilbo, Snoot, and then on a kind of distant 5th, I would say, is Marine Lord. But it's, for a lot of these guys, it's win or go home in terms of BlizzCon. I mean, obviously the prize pool is amazing. The honor of just doing well in this WCS, we talked about this a lot, will run rampant into 2016 and beyond. We still talk about these results, but going to BlizzCon, man, that's the big one.
It is the big one, and we can take a closer look now. Every single player today fights for a chance, or a lot of them do, and just to improve their ranking. Right now, CJ Hero is the #1 player in the world, and if BlizzCon was today, Dark would be the cutoff point, and he would be playing in there.
Yep.
But there are people challenging for his spots, Todd. Lilbo, 4GG, Snoot, and Jadong. Massive names, and even Marine Lord there.
Yeah, Marine Lord is probably a very, very long shot here. We need to win this season and then put on a hell of a performance at DreamHack Stockholm, but all of these guys that you see there, they're fighting for this, and so far, they're still in it. They have a chance to qualify for the top 8. Lilbo already did, and it's going to be interesting to see whose dream gets close to coming true, maybe even comes true, and whose dream comes down, I guess, crashing and burning here completely.
Dreams will get shattered this weekend for a couple of them, and we can take a look at the group. 16 players are still left in the tournament, but at the end of the day, there are only going to be 8. This is where we stand currently. Group A had Zanster qualify, Group B had Petraeus qualify, Group C had Pult, and D, Lilbo for the playoffs. All the other set of players are playing today to survive in the World Championship Series.
We're guaranteed to have 2 Koreans eliminated today, by the way. I just kind of noticed how that worked out, and that's pretty brutal, pretty cutthroat. Part of that's because of the upsets of the non-Koreans. I would say Lilbo actually being the forerunner there, but really exciting results.
Yeah, exciting today.
Yeah, really good actually racial distribution as well so far in the top 8. We have 2 Zergs, a Tian, a Protoss. Couldn't have been any better.
That's usually about what it is, twice as many Zerg as everybody else.
Seems to be. seems to be.
As of late.
I'm just kidding, you guys.
You know what's also twice as much as something is the predictions, because we've been tracking them over the last couple of days in Control and Todd, and we can take a quick look at them and where we are now. Over the last 2 days, all of the casters and experts here, the World Championship Series, have given their predictions on who thinks who is going to win. And this is where we stand. Nathanius somehow is the #1 ranked guy here with 75%. At the bottom, though, is equal. Rotterdam and in control with 42%. How do you think this is looking so far, Todd? You're in a decent position with me.
Yeah, we're okay, 50%. The thing is, we're supposed to be experts, Apollo. This is still unacceptable, I feel like. Everybody's ratio, but Nathanias, Inkaelaris, and Funka, which are probably the last guys that would have pegged to be the top 3 here in this ranking.
Well, this is a perfect depiction. I mean, they tried to make StarCraft good for really good people, and also people that have no idea what's going on. I mean, and here we can see topping the charts, Kalaris. I mean, even Funka, you know? I mean, he's way up there, and he's an observer.
Feels like the results of this should be flipped the other way around, you know?
But that's what's so
I mean, me and Todd would be in a great position if it flipped the other way around. We're 50-50 anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's everyone wins. That's how I look at this. Everyone wins.
Actually, I feel like everyone loses. Because we're really bad at this.
We are not doing so well. We're going to be tracking that for the last couple of days as well. Starting today, we've already given our predictions in for the games that we know, and we'll be following that shortly. But let's take a look at the bracket now, as it is almost game time. It's time to jump in to Group A, where Zanster has qualified, but there are 3 players left remaining. Marine Lord awaits in the decider match, but he must go up against the winner of either MaNa or Elfi. One of these players, Todd, is going home.
Yeah, absolutely. And MaNa here, he started pretty strong against Zanster, you know, in map #1 at a good hold, and we're all like, okay, I guess he's showing on form, he's gonna qualify, but nope, lost that series, and now he has to play against one of the best PvP or trickiest Protoss player ever in Elfi.
Yeah.
And even if he wins, he has to play Marine Lord, who's a beast in Tian versus Protoss. So this is a very delicate situation here for a Polish player.
Very delicate, and we can take a closer look at MaNa as he's on stage right now, preparing the last couple of settings that he needs to be able to take this one home. And we're in Poland right now. This is a massive moment for him, Jeff, but this is where he needs to perform. He couldn't do that the other day when we started up in Group A, but he has to now.
Yeah, as you said, he was part of that Group A, so he's actually had a couple of days to kind of sit back. Every time I walk past that practice room, he's been in there. He's been watching these matches. This guy is focused, and he needs to be, because he wants to get to Krakow. He wants to play in that live audience. He's got some fans here in our little studio performance, but man, going to the big show is the big prize for him.
Both of them actually have been laddering a ton. MaNa, I think, last I checked, he was at least in the top 5 Grandmaster, and Elfi as well was very high up there. So they've been training their asses off back there, man.
I bet they hit each other actually over practice. That'd be kind of funny. It's like, that's actually happened quite a bit. I remember tournaments and we would just like probe rush each other or something like that. Not going to show the real build.
Yeah, there's a lot to hide here. It's such an important game, especially for MaNa. He talked about it in the round of 32. He talked to it prior to that as well. Is that something inside lit up as soon as he knew that we were coming here, the World Championship Series to Poland. And for that to just disappear, that flame to be put out, is a disaster for him now.
And it would be, it's just, that's the brutality of WCS. It's so rewarding, so awesome, and so supportive of these players. But man, you know, we had this amazing story of MaNa, and we still do. There's still a chance. But he wins that first game strong, like Todd was talking about. But then the other 2 games, Zanster kind of had his way with him. And that's not the last impression he wants to leave.
And Elfi is a player who is a tricky individual. I mean, he lost in Challenger, was a replacement coming into the round of 32. He advanced from his group in the round of 32. He's traveled to Poland with us, and here he is again, and he can flip this group upside down. He can ruin MaNa's day.
Especially in the PvP matchup, where in Finland he has really tough competition with Wellmu, and has for years. I mean, these 2 guys have been going back and forth in top-notch results from in there, and also in Europe as well.
Yeah, I feel like Elfi, his t-shirt of his cat summarizes very well how he goes about playing StarCraft. He's like, just a guy having fun, mixing in different builds, and PvP is probably the best matchup for him to explore his style, where he loves to play crazy, and if you don't have all the informations, which in StarCraft you never do, playing against somebody like this is a nightmare.
How do you play against him?
It's really hard. You need to scout a lot, maybe do some kind of Mothership Core, flying early on, recall, to try and see what his original tech is, but even from there, he can transition into anything. And even if you do that, then you don't have the photon overcharge back at home, you die to his 4-gate. So like, there is no ultimate solution, just putting a lot of effort towards scouting a lot. Here I think is going to be very important for MaNa. And if he can do the same thing that Marine Lord did, kind of figure out what he's up against and defend it, I think he's going to be fine.
Okay, let's take a look at the map pool now. So the games have been sorted out. The players have vetoed 2 matches each, and we have maps picked as well for the best of 3. It's Coda, Cactus Valley, and Terraform. The smaller the map, the harder for elfi, or the easier for elfi? Because the bigger the map, the harder for him to be scouted, but also the smaller the map, the easier it is to get close and dangerous with his proxies, Jeff.
Well, in the PvP meta right now, size of the map obviously has some impact, mostly with like Mothership Core scouting, but for the most part otherwise, you're still very easily able to hide a Stargate, even on Coda or something like that. And Cactus Valley being the big 4-player map, it's easier, but it's also hard at the same time. Do I probe scout? Do I not probe scout? A little bit more of the randomness factor comes in there.
Todd?
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised actually that MaNa picked Cactus Valley in that regard, because as Jeff mentioned, like getting that Mothership Core across the map and scouting is going to be difficult or may take a very long time. I wonder actually that this makes me wonder how many one-time build we're going to be seeing, because even MaNa is very capable of going for something like a proxy Stargate into Dark Templar hidden out on the map to try and completely trick elfi if he thought it were wise for him to try and win one map like this.
All right, let's take a closer look at map number 1, Coda. Can you highlight some positions on the screen that's about to come up that proxy Stargates, for example, or dangerous locations that elfi's going to be looking perhaps to take an advantage? Maybe he doesn't take this way, but if he was to go, which places would he be looking to do this?
I think, for example, if MaNa was in the number 1 spot, top left, below that, for example, you can hide a Stargate. But to be honest, elfi doesn't really strike me as the guy that proxies all that much. Like he's fairly cheesy. He loves to pick one build and go for it, but that doesn't necessarily always mean proxy. He's not quite at, has level of proxy, which is almost every game.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. It's time to start putting our thoughts towards the predictions now. As
oh God!
Today it can be make or break for us, especially you, Jeff. Todd, we're going to break past the 50% mark.
We can't fall below it.
We cannot fall below.
Hey, you guys are 8% better than me, by the way.
Yeah, that's 8%.
So,
that's a lot.
If that was a milk, it'd be really disgusting to say. Pretty gross, man.
We had a couple of split opinions and some other ones, but I think we were very similar on the way that we looked at this matchup. I think a lot of people here are expecting MaNa to take this one.
Yeah, totally.
elfi's the clear underdog. We can take a look at the predictions now and see who's chosen what.
Yeah.
But it's actually a little bit closer than I thought it would be. elfi has been chosen by In Control, Kalaris, Pig, 3-5. Why do you think elfi's winning?
I do want to say, so I'll be quick, but I do think elfi has what it takes to disrupt MaNa here. I think there's a lot of pressure on MaNa. On elfi, there's absolutely none. We could actually see it in that picture. I mean, it's just kind of sitting there like a cat. But I do think, getting ahead of myself, I think if MaNa were to go on, he would put up a better fight against Marine Lord, but I don't think he will. If elfi goes on, I think he gets slaughtered by Marine Lord.
But you've chosen MaNa.
Yeah, I think that MaNa is going to be able to do the same thing that we saw Marine Lord do against elfi earlier. Get enough scouting done that he realizes what's happening, shut down elfi and win, even though it's going to be harder for him, as I mentioned before.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. It's time to kickstart Group A. It's elimination time. Sadly, one of these players is going home. Which one's it's going to be? Let's find out.
That's right. It's time for the first knockout match here at the round of 16 for Premier League at the World Championship Series, Kev, and it's in PvP.
That's the way I love to start my day, Nate. This is going to be a very fun day. We got 8 best of 3s ahead of us, and this is going to be the first one. Of course, a very big one already, because this is what I love about the final day, the way that this has been played out, Nate. Every single series today truly matters. If you lose, you will always be eliminated, and sometimes if you win, you will advance to the round of 8. But some people have to win twice. That goes for this man as well. MaNa versus elfi, 2 veterans within the European scene. And Nate, I was digging up a little bit of history between these two, and it's very interesting. They haven't played against each other in an official match since 2012. How does that even happen? And what I thought was even more interesting then is that MaNa has always been very good, right? Especially in the early years. elfi has a 6-1 record against him in series. But once again, that's a long, long time ago.
And it's time to see who can set the record straight then as we get loaded into the first map. We're here on Coda in the bottom right. The Polish Protoss from Team Liquid. He's MaNa.
Looks very focused and very concentrated today, Nate. Didn't even make anything goofy when the camera was on him. That's when you know it's business time for him. He's gonna go up against our lovely Finnish Protoss player spawning on the left top side of Coda. It is elfi. Elfi, who seemed a little stressed out perhaps after his first set of games early this weekend against Marine Lord, even tweeted out, he's like, man, I have no idea how I even made it this far. Like, I'm not in shape right now to duke it out with these guys. And it's really funny because I was standing behind Elfi this morning while he's warming up, and he's currently ranked 4 GM. You know, rank 4 in the Grandmaster League in Europe. I was like, wow, that's pretty good. He looks at me, he's like, no, it's not good. He's like, it doesn't mean anything. When you play here, that doesn't mean anything.
And the level of competition with so much at stake, especially considering that players like Marine Lord actually have a chance of getting to the global finals if they're able to win this season. And with how many upsets we've had so far in the last couple of days, that's it's pretty possible.
I know, like the level of competition is very high here and it's very fierce, but as an ordinary guy like me, Nate, that's
well, us mere mortals are quite impressed by rank 3 in
I
the
know,
ladder.
like you stand behind it, it's like, man, that looks beautiful, you know, that the like 4 and then the fancy GM logo that's like totally pimped out, you know, has all the wings, has all the badges.
Yeah.
You're like, man, that looks really good. I'd feel really confident right now. But
I mean, it's always interesting the difference between the preparation for tournaments like this and ladder preparation. You know, if the rank 1 Grandmaster player in Europe won everything, you know, we'd be here casting to Muslim probably.
Wow, Nate. All right, let's take a look at the opening. So far, everything is very standard. No probe scout yet, other than just for proxies in the natural for MaNa. He's going to send out 1 probe right now completely, as he wants to see if there's something he has to worry about. Elfi's probe took a little bit of a detour. Very unlikely, I think, that MaNa is going to cheese it up in this series. Coda is one of the most straightforward maps. I'm not saying Oracle openings are bad, because they truly are never bad. But I believe that if you think you're the better player here, Nate, you will pretty much always go for a Twilight. Twilight and a Robo. So you have Blink Stalkers, which is good against Stargate play. You have a Robo that's good against detection. And Blink is just solid all around. There's only one build that you kind of don't want to face, and that's 1 gate, fast expand, followed by robotics facility. But I don't think Elfi is going to do that. And even if that is the case, it's not the end of the world for the Blink Stalker player. He just kind of has to make something happen. But hey, Blink Stalkers make things happen, Nate.
Yeah, the best part about Blink Stalkers is that if you out-control your opponent, you're generally going to win just because of how much micro potential Blink adds into the equation. And still, more gateway coming in. We have a couple Stalkers opening up. Where do you see this headed right now? Because we have the first Twilight Council.
Yeah, Blink versus Blink. I even think MaNa is going for a Blink as well. It's just a very, very safe Blink. As he opened up with 2 gates, perhaps worried about a crazy 3 gate over here from Elfi. He could, of course, always run across the map and add 1 more gateway and turn his own build into a 3 gate, which is not bad, but I also feel the moment that you don't do that crucial damage that you're looking for, he's actually going to follow it up with a Stargate, Nate. I find that interesting. This is not the build that I expected from MaNa. Elfi going for a Twilight, like I said, very straightforward. Good pick over here by Elfi, picking off a probe like this. I'm not sure if MaNa had any big plans with this worker. I don't think he really did, maybe just check the natural later on, but you always feel good in the PvP when you find that probe out on the map.
And not having to worry about something being hidden over there or any extra pylons going up outside your base is certainly nice, but Elfi going up to another 2 gateways. This has to be just, what, an all-in of some kind?
No. That's just gateway number 2 and 3.
Okay.
MaNa was the one with 2 gates, so this is very standard. This is kind of what you want to do when you open up with Blink. You go 3 gates, then eventually you add the robotics facility. MaNa is most likely going to open up with an Oracle, because it's just kind of too late for Phoenixes, I feel. I feel that MaNa is playing with fear over here. He's going to walk up this ramp. Well, that's definitely not with a whole lot of fear. A little bit of missed micro there by Elfi, but he really shouldn't have too much to worry about. There's no pylon over here, there's no probe. He could drop Photon Overcharge right now and get a guaranteed kill. If he Photon Overcharges right now, Nate, he gets the kill on the Stalker, but he saves it. Well,
trying to trade out, not able to target fire down that weakened Stalker.
That's kind of sloppy, because he could have used it before. It's going to be a Phoenix. Wow.
Okay. Why would he go for Phoenix in this situation and not an Oracle, Roddy?
Yeah, you're asking me that something, Nate. He didn't check the back of the base, but I'm sure that MaNa is expecting a Twilight build over here from Elfi, because everything looks like a Twilight build. You see 2 Stalkers and a Mothership Core, you don't see anything else. Unless he's worried about a proxy Stargate. He does keep the Phoenix at home for now, but that could just be... Yeah, actually he was worried about proxy Stargate, Nate, because he's going Phoenix into Oracle. So MaNa's misreading this.
You made a good point. He didn't actually see the Twilight in the back either, so you have to be a little bit careful. He is following it up with an Oracle, but now Blink is done. I guess it all comes down to where will these Stalkers be when the Oracle hits.
Of course, because the Mothership Core used Photon Overcharge as well. If you take a look at the Mothership Core right now of Elfi, it's currently sitting at 66 energy. This could actually set up for a very, very sweet window for this 1 Oracle. Even if, you know, you have 2 Stalkers. 2 Stalkers is not enough, Nate. You need 3 Stalkers against an Oracle. But most of the time when you open up with Blink, you don't really want to leave 3 Stalkers. 2 Sentries will do absolutely nothing, by the way, against an Oracle.
Yeah,
You're going to end up losing 7 workers.
With no energy for folks in overcharge either. He could actually get a lot of work done with this Oracle.
Yeah, this is very bad. I actually think that elfi's in quite a bit of trouble. He's going to end up losing 5 probes, in my opinion, at least, if not more. Even with a defensive warp in. Here we go, man. This is awesome for MaNa. What a great start for him.
Yeah, focus firing down these probes, picking off quite a few. Getting 4 initially. Can go up a little bit more if he wants
shot
to.
at all 3 workers once.
Yeah, that's not quite what he was looking for. But actually, some of these Stalkers not able to blink back, trying to micromanage 2 fights at the same time. This natural hasn't started yet, but he has the Immortal to help anchor this defense.
Yep, elfi should get the hell out of here, man. That one Immortal is way too powerful, and he knows it. I think the one thing that MaNa is worried about right now is that elfi has a pylon very nearby, and then sometimes what they do is warp in a Stalker, and then a Sentry, and then suddenly the Robo Stargate player is contained on one base. That's the reason why MaNa is standing on the low ground, as some people wonder. Why is he fighting on the low ground against Blink Stalkers?
Okay, I think that makes a lot of sense. He's got his Immortal on the left side.
Oh, that one Phoenix. Phoenix can live.
Oh yeah, you just try to pick one of the Stalkers up and force them to stand and deliver.
Very good by elfi over here that he starts shooting at this Phoenix immediately. You kind of want to take care of it, because otherwise you're going to end up losing a lot of Stalkers. Ends up only losing 1. That's an okay-ish trade. I still like this for MaNa, of course, just because the Oracle killed 4 workers in a 1-base scenario, and that's phenomenal.
It's 23 probes versus 30, and even though that second Nexus is done faster for elfi, it hasn't paid off for itself yet. He doesn't have probes there. He doesn't have enough probes to actually saturate that base, even if he split them from his main.
I don't like this that much, though. MaNa has to be so careful over him, and he's playing with fire. There's Photon Overcharge. There are Force Fields as well. MaNa, you have to go back immediately. He lost the Oracle. That's a little bit of a shame. I don't think this move out was necessary by MaNa at all.
Yeah, it was a bit of a, I guess, like a bullying type play.
Yeah, sometimes you just, well, he's been doing a really good job in producing workers, by the way, on one base. I think it's more, you want to test the waters, and if that guy doesn't have sentries or doesn't have immortals, you can just muster through with your 2 immortals, right? You get a couple of stalkers maybe, you can even do some serious work on the Nexus. It puts a lot of fear into your opponent, but it's also very risky, because if elfi would have gone down immediately, has like, let's say 1 or 2 zealots and then drops the force fields, he gets an immortal for free, and that's phenomenal. Maybe even immortal and a stalker.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. There's a lot of risk involved when you try to make these types of plays, and we can see MaNa doing everything that he can now to situate himself for that next step.
So a very even game at the moment, I'd say. 36 workers against 35. RoboPay timings are pretty much identical. MaNa does have 4 immortals, so his army is a lot stronger, but it's just unlikely they are going to fight anytime soon. What I do like from elfi's point of view, Nate, is that elfi still has the Blink Stalkers. He has 6 of them, and there's no timer on them, right? Of course you don't want to max out with these 6 Stalkers, but there should be a window of opportunity within the next 2 minutes for 4 Stalkers to hop into the main base and get 5, 6, 7 workers. And if he's able to do that, then elfi can create a nice lead for himself. And eventually, like MaNa being 4 immortals against the 2 immortals of elfi is great. But if you end up losing a lot of workers and then the Colossus count goes up for your opponent, he goes up to 3 bases before you, that's not going to save the day.
No. Okay, so the Robo Bays are finishing up.
5, Nate, 5.
He has a lot of immortals. Very strong backbone of this army. Those Stalkers not going to be particularly useful in a head-on engagement, like you said. I actually like that he moves 2 up into his main just in case.
Yeah, if I was elfi right now, I wouldn't even try to do something with my Stalkers. Just wait. Just wait for the 3-base scenario. On 2 bases, these Stalkers of yours, they will never achieve anything. This is impossible.
Yeah.
There's too much firepower. So just wait. Try to snipe the probe that drops the Nexus for base number 3 and create a small advantage for yourself like that.
Yeah, so now I need to ask you, Kev, as both players are going into Colossi, both have extended thermal lance on the way. The +1 is done for MaNa, whereas we just have this Forge coming in now for elfi. Do these extra immortals in the army composition, how much does it really impact a fight that could happen in the next few minutes?
There shouldn't be a fight in the next few minutes. Wow, elfi, you gotta pay attention there. Ends up losing 2 Stalkers because he had 6. I mean, the immortals are great, Nate. I just don't see MaNa running across the well, 6 gates. Okay, maybe he will, because he doesn't have a Twilight either, correct? So he's not gearing up for +2. So I guess he's going to try, Nate, and I'm not saying it's a bad decision. It's just risky, because it comes down to the Colossus. Now, elfi's the one that's moving forward as well. But force fields can be very good against this many immortals, because the Colossus count is not that high, so it's very unlikely.
And I think elfi's even still considering the possibility of a second Oracle being made out of that Stargate. He's dropped cannons back home. He's a bit worried about being harassed.
He's misreading these. I really didn't expect a fight to happen, but MaNa's just going to go for it. This is a 2-base pretty much all in because he's extremely committed to it. elfi is still misreading this. He's like, I'm gonna make a great play over here. I'm gonna run across the map. I'm gonna cancel your third base and recall home. But it's like, elfi, there's actually an army marching across the map.
He's actually coming to kill you
Yes.
right now. Run home.
And that's extra bad because if he recalls, he doesn't have energy for time warp or photon overcharge.
What does he do? Does he have to just try to base trade?
Yeah, maybe not even the worst scenario. I think if he recalls home, he's super dead. So yeah, I would try to base trade.
Okay. And MaNa's just not going to do that. He's
Does he have
also going to just sit here, maybe pick off a base and then try to recall. I don't know. Both of them will get the Nexus kill.
If I was elfi, I would try to get MaNa to recall. Because if he doesn't, like elfi doesn't have any probe side on the map though, and that's a huge problem because MaNa does, as we can see, he's dropping pylons over here left and right.
He could build a Nexus too if he really wanted
to the main. Okay, he has 3 Colossus right now, right? Okay, and he's thrown down a Dark Shrine. That's very important. Something that could come into play later on.
And testing the waters here. There is there an observer?
Oh, that's
Doesn't look
risky.
like it.
It's very hard to run up that ramp. Great time warp there. He's gonna get the Mothership Core perhaps as well. Yes, he does. He's still using Blink. Very well done there by elfi.
And MaNa gets a second time warp out. As you mentioned, that Dark Shrine is now halfway done. Does MaNa have an observer is what I'm looking for. There is one back home.
No, that's, I guess, good enough for now. As long as he has that, I think that's good enough for now, Nate. The problem is, when MaNa killed elfi's Nexus, he didn't just kill the Nexus, he killed 17 probes. This is awesome, by the way, by elfi. I have no idea how he made it, because he stalked in the middle of the map. But that is an absolutely great play. Sniping a Colossus in a low economic game like this, that's crucial, man. That's a great play by elfi.
Yeah, MaNa's basically saying, come down the ramp, come at me, bro. He's forcing him into this choke point where those Colossi can do so much splash damage. And now he's also bringing in that Observer, which he will need.
Yep. Yeah, does elfi have an Observer? Maybe elfi could snipe the Observer.
Does elfi have a pylon on the map? There's still that one in the southwest base, so how does he intend to get Dark Templar into his base?
Well, he could warp there, but I think he's going to use
Where are you making them?
Oh, over here on the north side.
At his main.
That's kind of the further away pylon. Yeah, he should be able to out-micro these 3 stalkers, by the way, because he has
no
Blink.
Blink.
Oh, there's a Colossus, so not anymore.
Out-micro that.
Okay, what I want to say before, though, is that MaNa didn't just kill the Nexus, he also killed 17 workers in the process, while elfi only killed like 10 or something. So if they both just retake their natural, not only is MaNa's natural a lot faster, he can also actually saturate it.
Oh, he brought his Observer out to kill the other one.
Oh, that's great play over here.
Very cheeky. As
is he going to remake it immediately?
Making their way downtown.
Walking fast, faces past.
And they're trying to get probes now.
And they're home by now.
So the Observer is here.
Oh, this is gonna
he knows there's no detection.
Okay, there is an Observer halfway in production though, so MaNa shouldn't lose too much. Maybe 5, 6 workers. Sentry is gonna go down as well. Dark Templar start working on a Colossus.
This is really awkward.
Dream big, Nate. Dream big.
This is one of the more awkward engagements, so unit interactions we get to see in StarCraft.
A good force field, of course, by MaNa, making sure that one Dark Templar doesn't run into the main, because that makes things more awkward.
So what does he do? Does he throw the deep ball and try to like snipe it, or?
Look at the army right now, Nate. elfi's 98 army supply against 89, and he has 6 Colossus, because those stalkers in the middle of the map sniped the Colossus. Did MaNa rebuild his Mothership Core?
No.
Oh man, I'm actually very worried here. If elfi controls his Colossus properly, with 6 Colossus, I think there is a good chance. You know, for instance, we often mention it, but I think Naniwa is one of the absolute greatest Protoss's in Europe when it comes to stutter stepping with Colossus. If elfi does it only half as good as Nani often does
Look at these hallucinating Colossi too. Just trying to bait out the first few shots of this army, trying to force him to come in here. He's going to make the engagement.
He's just going to go for the fight. I'm not saying it's not going to work, but it's not the ideal way to go about this one because, of course, MaNa had a great defensive concave.
Yeah, and he's just moving right up this ramp. A lot of these units taking splash. The Immortals are very low for elfi. MaNa still has a lot of his. Those can do a lot of damage to this Colossi. He's running away, and that's clumping up the Colossus. Yep. All of them are starting to get taken down.
Man, like he had a great army, but I really think he needed to poke a little bit, get a couple of swipes off before he started moving in. MaNa, of course, with a great defensive setup, was down 2 Colossus, but he did have a couple of Immortals, and above all, he had that beautiful spread, man, and he just absolutely crushed this army of elfi.
Yeah, MaNa is just cleaning house now with this army. Those anchors underneath the Colossi, having those Immortals, you can't try to just dance against this. Those Immortals deal incredible amounts of firepower.
Yep, I actually see no way for elfi to hang in here right now. That's going to be extremely difficult. He does have a Mothership Core still, I believe, unless he lost it. No, he has one. Doesn't even have energy right now for the Time Warp or a Photon Overcharge. And with these Immortals in the mix as well, he's going to go for the Dark Templar play again. I don't mind that. You know, when behind Nate, it's still sometimes true. You want to go for a Dark Shrine, and he already has it. So that's great. He's going to take this fight, but look at these Colossus from MaNa, man. They're just wailing away at the entire army of elfi.
Yeah, those probes, their little tasers underneath are not enough. GG, MaNa takes game number 1 here in our first series of the day. In the round of 16 elimination match, there's a lot on the line.
pretty wild PvP over here, man. That was crazy. That's not how I see most PvPs play out. MaNa going for that big 2-base attack. Elfi trying to counter a 3rd base that wasn't there. Then both people killing each other's nexus. A recall being used. Dark Templars being thrown in the mix. And it actually became very, very close. I think at a certain point, once again, I think this game got decided where Elfi just decided to run up that ramp while he has 6 Colossus, you know. Every single time he just only pokes forward with the Colossus, because basically when you do that, range 9, the only thing that's going to shoot at you is other Colossus. But if you have 6 and he has 4, if you poke with them, I think you could do some serious work.
Yeah, moving up the ramp was definitely a questionable choice, and especially that move out where he tried to cancel a 3rd base, there was no 3rd, and things just got really awkward from there.
Yep, so we're going to wait until we hop into game number 2 as both players need a quick minute, so that allows us to go for this commercial break, and after that we'll be back with game 2 between MaNa and Elfi.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the World Championship Series Premier League. It is a round of 16. This is the first elimination match. Elfi is 1 map away from being knocked out this season.
Yep, and that was a good way to start the day off with, I'd say, Nate. I really enjoyed that PvP on Coda. Second map is going to be played on Cactus Valley. It's one of my favorite PvP maps, actually, because I do think Cactus plays out a little different than most of the other maps. And why that is, of course, as soon as the game is live, we'll tell you guys all about it. But what I'm still most surprised by, Nate, is the way that MaNa opened. It seemed like he was playing with quite a bit of fear, man. He's worried. Of course, you can also say that he's looking at it saying, as long as nothing crazy happens, I will win, so I'm going to be as safe as possible. But in PvP, you always need to play with a little bit of courage.
He wants to play on that big stage for his country. He is the blue Protoss player in the Northwest, representing Team Liquid. Give it up for MaNa.
And over here on the right top side of Cactus Valley, we have the man who has an amazing record against his opponent, but that is almost ancient history. Can he do it in this day and age? It is Elfi. I can't believe that two players that have been so active within the European scene haven't played against each other in almost 3 years. Last time was October 2012.
That is pretty impressive. It's a completely different world back then in StarCraft.
Yeah, we're playing Wings of Liberty, Nate.
Yeah. It was they probably didn't go past one base either. This was that was actually the first time these guys probably ever two-based versus each other.
That's why elfi's record is so phenomenal against MaNa. He just 4-gated him over and over again.
Well, that was pretty much all there was to do back then. But in a new day and age, MaNa has been a very strong player. And I'm digging the confidence. I think with how much he has online, outside of the money, outside of the WCS points, his national pride, I think that's what gives him that edge to keep pushing forward.
I've got a little bit of nerd chills, as Fonka has been desperately trying to point out to us, is that MaNa has opened up with the 11 gate, Nate. And
the Roddy gate.
The 11 gate is a great gate because it's just a little bit quicker. I love it. So you don't chrono boost your Nexus immediately as soon as the pylon is done. Instead, you go up to 11 supply, get the gateway, and then you chrono boost your Nexus twice. But the main reason why MaNa might be doing this is because what's very popular on this map, Nate, is to proxy a Stargate with your second pylon. I don't think it's necessary to do that when you're 11 gate, but a lot of people do. Is he going to do it? I think it's going to be a very quick Stargate regardless by MaNa. Maybe he's just going to put it in the corner of his base.
Yeah, and that of course gives him the opportunity to try to get some early damage done. We saw him go for the delayed Oracle play on the last map.
Yeah.
He did open with that Phoenix, so he's been showing, as you mentioned, that caution. He doesn't want to risk it all.
Now, what I mentioned before is Cactus Valley plays a little bit different than most other maps, and the reason is it's just very big. It takes a while for Blink Stalkers to cover everything. Overall, it's not a great Blink Stalker map because there's only one entrance into the main base. So this is one of those maps where I am the biggest fan of Stargates, Nate. I'm not saying Oracles is bad or is ever bad, and with the way that MaNa opened up, since he's going Stargate before any other unit, by the way, can we just emphasize on this?
Yeah.
This is the greediest Stargate you can ever get. If elfi would have been a little bit more fortunate with the way he scouted, he would have actually been able to spot this immediately. He would have had a probe in the main base right now. But poor elfi scouted in the wrong direction, so he doesn't know about this just yet, and this Oracle is going to arrive very, very quickly. I'm actually a very big fan of Phoenix play myself on this map. I think this is a phenomenal Phoenix map, but since neither player is going to play Phoenix over here, I don't have to go on my little Phoenix rant, Nate, even though it does give me so much joy.
I know how much you love to lift, Roddy. I understand. I understand.
Only in game, not out of game. The only thing I lift out of game are hamburgers, Nate. Wow,
he is going to go for the Phoenix. Talk to me, Kev.
Wow, I love it, Nate.
Educate me. Enlighten me.
This is so good on so many levels, Nate. Now, I must say, the only thing that I don't necessarily agree with is that he went for this Stargate before any other unit. So A, it could have been scouted, and B, you know, you're so vulnerable against a straight-up 3-gate. Does he even have a mothership core, Nate?
I'm just glad that now I know.
He's going Stalker into Stargate, and there is no mothership core yet. So if elfi would have decided to 2 or 3-gate it, I think MaNa would have been super dead over here. But Phoenix is just great all around. A lot of people open up with Oracles over here. That would obviously you would shut it down super hard. Some people go Stargate, but since MaNa's Stargate was so damn greedy, he would always win a Phoenix battle. Some people go 1-gate fast expand Robo, which means you have nothing that's good against Phoenix, and some people go Dark Templars, which means that your Phoenix should be able to scout it. In this case, elfi's scenario is not bad. He's going Blink Stalkers, but if I was elfi right now, Nate, there's something that I would definitely do, and that is just expand immediately. You spot these Phoenixes, don't try to win with Blink Stalkers on one base, because most of the time you won't win. So I think expanding is better.
Yeah, this is very interesting. So now these Phoenix are going to come into the main base of elfi, looking to have some probe or two here. Of course, you'd love to trigger that photon overcharge and then get out without losing anything.
And that's exactly what happened there, Nate. Took a little bit of damage on that first Phoenix, which was unnecessary. He lifted a probe, but started shooting at the mothership core. But other than that, he still got out of there, and that's the most important thing that matters. elfi's just sitting on 3 gates now, correct?
Yeah. And this is a pretty interesting position to be put in as these Phoenix still just continue to swarm around the map.
I would kind of like to see MaNa throw down a Robo, though. I think it's very risky to play against all these Stalkers without a robotics facility. He's going to be able to get a Stalker there. It's very nice. MaNa's actually just going to fight this with Gateways and Phoenix. It's not bad, but I personally think it's better to get your Immortals out as quick as possible. Instead, he's just going to try to win because he's going to have way more units because he didn't invest in an... this is a bad fight for elfi, man. elfi doesn't have that many units. He's ignoring the Phoenixes for now. I do kind of like that move as we have first-person view of MaNa. I think this was quite smart by elfi. He ignored the Phoenixes. Phoenixes are very tanky, so he went for units that are on the ground instead. And while I said it was a bad fight for elfi, I actually think he traded even there minus all the energy of the Phoenixes, so that wasn't pretty okay trade for elfi.
Yeah, the Phoenix won't have too many more lifts to use if there's another engagement, and that really complicates things because he's continuing to warp in Blink Stalkers.
Yep, and there are no Zealots either, it's just Stalkers for MaNa. I don't really like the way this is going for MaNa, and elfi's doing the right thing again, Nate. He's just blinking forward, he's killing Stalkers, and I actually think that the game is going to end over here. I think elfi is going to be able to even up this series because these Phoenixes will run out of energy in the near future.
No Mothership Core, no Photon Overcharge, no economy.
No robotics facility, no Immortal on the way. Phoenixes all have like 1 lift tops. Most of them don't even have a single lift. It's 8 Blink Stalkers against a person that has absolutely nothing on the ground. MaNa should have really got a robo, man.
A little bit overzealous with his commitment to taking these engagements in this game. The probe's going to get pulled once again. Phoenix moving over to grab these Stalkers, but there's just so many. They're going to aggressively blink on top of MaNa's forces, cleaning up the Stalkers that he has. He's trying to tie this series up. Does not want to get knocked out. GG. elfi ties the series 1-1.
This hurts my Phoenix heart, Nate, because everything I said is true. I promise you guys, Phoenixes are really good on Cactus Valley. I just personally think it's much better to go for Immortals, because whenever they play with Blink Stalkers, they will often try to be aggressive. 9 out of 10 times, the Blink Stalker player will try to be aggressive against the Phoenix player, and then you just one time you have like, let's say 2 Zealots, 2 Stalkers, and Immortal, and every Stalker you lift is going to die, because, you know, if he wants to fight, he has to fight the Immortals, and if you focus fire on Immortal, it takes a while, then the Zealots will do damage, the Phoenixes will go to town, they reduce the damage output, but I just think that playing with Phoenix and only gateway units against Blink Stalkers, it can work, but it's very risky. One bad engagement and the game is lost 100% because you don't have Blink yourself.
Yeah, the opportunity to be out-controlled is certainly a big threat in a scenario like that, and I think when you look at this position, would he have actually been able to do more if he had just gone straight for an Oracle?
Yeah, maybe. I don't think it's wrong to play with Phoenixes. I just think like every choice after that is something that completely changes any possible scenario in the game, right? Like there are so many small moments already where this could have all gone different. He used 2 lifts immediately on probes. That's great, but if you want to use your Phoenixes to kill the army, then you should probably save those lifts, because Phoenixes early on, they just don't have a whole lot of energy. You know, you use 1 lift and then you have to wait until the second lift is available. So every lift truly counts. And I just think that very first fight, I always think if you want to win with just gateway units and Phoenixes, you need some Zealots. And the fact that MaNa didn't have any Zealots allowed elfi to just blink on top of the Stalkers, and sure, a couple of them were lifted, but Stalkers are kind of tanky in its own. They won't die every single time they are lifted, and I just think elfi did a great job there with the focus fire, sniping those Stalkers, and MaNa shouldn't have been in the position he was in.
Yeah, he was able to take a really good engagement away from those pylons, and this man now is tied up 1-1. He needs to win this map if he wants to continue to have a chance to play in front of his crowd. It's Liquid MaNa.
On the right bottom side of Terraform, we're looking at the main base of the Finnish Protoss, who has been playing surprisingly well so far in this entire WCS season. It is elfi. And you know, sometimes, Nate, elfi just comes out guns blazing, man. We all remember that game 2 or game 3 it was against Kalazur, where he played flawless. That was phenomenal. You would have told me that was CJ and his hero playing, I would have believed you. You know, that's how good it was.
Yeah, that was a day where many Terran players cried, and many keyboards were probably smashed by the number of medevacs that were sniped out of the skies.
Yeah, the people at home don't know this, but Nate actually called me that night at home, and he said he couldn't fall asleep. He was too scared.
No. It's horrifying when people can play that well. They keep things held together that tight. But MaNa, this is such an important match for him. You know, we've had actually quite a few awesome people come by to come watch some of these games here in our studios in Katowice, and a lot of the Polish fans were saying, it's like, well, obviously we want MaNa to win. So I'm like, and it's so cool to have that support behind you. But MaNa, if he can make it out of this group and make it to the quarterfinals, he can play on a much bigger stage in front of so many more fans from his country, and that's got to be such a powerful feeling.
Yeah, absolutely, and of course if MaNa would advance, I think we can gear ourselves up for an awesome deciders match over here in Group A between MaNa and Marine Lord. And I do agree kind of with Jeff. I think if elfi advances, like elfi definitely has what it takes to win a PvP series, but I think against Marine Lord, we saw it early this weekend, like I just don't think, or this weekend, it's middle in the week, I don't think that's gonna fly. So I think Marine Lord is probably watching these games, he's like, well, you know, I wouldn't mind it if elfi takes this one.
Yeah, it's scary though. I think anybody that has to go up against the Frenchies this weekend are going to have their hands full, as Lilbo and Marine Lord have already showed themselves, especially Lilbo, to be quite the forces to be reckoned with.
Yep. Nice quote there of the Roddy soundboard, Nate. I'm digging it.
Yeah.
A little bit of a scout over here by both players, as probes will say hello to each other in the middle of the map. I kind of expect MaNa this game to just play super solid. 1 gate into Twilight, Stalker, Mothership Core, you know, Twilight, 2 more gates, and then Robotics Facility. If he does anything else, I'd be so shocked, because that's just the most solid way to play PvP on these maps. And that's the way that most players play when they feel that they are the better player. And I'm sure that MaNa believes that he has what it takes to take out elfi over here.
And so far from the openings that we're seeing, it's a fast Stalker with the Mothership Core from MaNa, and it's a Sentry opening from elfi. So does this tell you he wants to expand, or?
Could very well be, Nate. It's going to be a very quick Stargate again for MaNa. This time, I do think it's going to be Oracles. I don't think he would make that same mistake twice. He just didn't seem to be super comfortable with the Phoenixes on Cactus Valley. It could be a 1 gate fast expand into a Robo if elfi is 100% sure that MaNa wants to go for Blink Stalkers, which is what I would have thought. Of course, you know, guys, I know sometimes we look silly with all our wrong predictions, but in a tournament like this, a lot of mind games will be used. You know, this is the moment where people think outside of the box and they won't play super straightforward because they want to outsmart their opponent. MaNa going for a Stargate here, I think, is relatively surprising. elfi going for 1 gate fast expand is very surprising, but it is pretty good against Blink Stalkers. So in that case, I don't mind it that much. I think this is going to be Oracle into Blink Stalkers. But I think if MaNa scouts what he's actually scouting, Phoenixes are absolutely phenomenal against 1 gate fast expand Robo, which is the main reason why this is not the default opening in PvP. Because if your opponent opens up with 4 or 5 Phoenixes, how are you going to chase down those Phoenixes if you don't have Blink Stalkers, if you don't have Phoenixes on your own, and you're sitting there with Sentries and Immortals? Like, that's the worst unit composition ever against Phoenix. So I think as soon as MaNa is going to arrive there, he's going to be a little bit sad that he didn't open up with Phoenixes this time, because this would have been a dream scenario.
And the Oracle is making its way across the map. We have a hallucinated Phoenix from that fast Sentry that will be used to scout, and he should be able to see everything. Yeah,
MaNa could become very aggressive with this. The way that this could potentially play out is Oracle is going to force out Photon Overcharge, and then he's going to pressure the front immediately with Blink Stalkers. And then later on, he has to keep the Oracle alive. If he wants to be aggressive on one base, which is very risky, by the way. I'm not sure if he would do it, but I think if this was a ladder game, he absolutely would. That you send the Oracles into the main while your Blink Stalkers attack the front. Here comes that Oracle. No Photon Overcharge being used yet. That's very good play there by elfi. He didn't panic.
Yeah, brave boy, not losing his cool in this stressful scenario as more Stalkers get warped in by MaNa. He's starting to cross the map, and we have an Immortal on the way.
It's so important he didn't use Photon Overcharge then, Nate. I can't emphasize on how big that is. No Photon Overcharge allows him to eventually drop Photon Overcharge in the main base against that Oracle that actually eats a couple of shots over there, while he can just move all of his units to the low ground. MaNa's dropping an expand behind this, and Nate, I like that move. Use Envision to kill the Observer, and he's going to be able to get it. That's not something we see very often, but I do like it, because vision is everything over here on top of those Blink Stalkers.
It'll be hard for him to take advantage of the positioning of this army if he can't see it.
Whoa, and he still has a little bit of energy left. He's going to fly in.
Wasn't expecting that.
Wow, no. Man, that's a sick play over here.
Nice!
I see so many PvPs, but I've really seen this. Envision into Pulsar Beam being used in this phase in the game.
Envision into Pulsar Beam. Words you not hear very often.
No, that's the first time I've ever said that, Nate.
And we have still just a bunch of Stalkers. He is taking his natural as Blink completes, so he's not forcing himself in any all-in position.
Nope. I mean, after he just killed those workers and he's getting his own Nexus, which is halfway done, I would even say that MaNa's in a pretty sweet spot right now. He can poke, he has very mobile units. He could shoot at the Mothership Core over here and get it, and that's exactly what he does.
He scores! MaNa picks up the Mothership Core and, you know, forces the Photon Overcharge, and he still has the high ground vision from this Oracle as well.
Yep, 4. I wouldn't go with all of my stocks, by the way. I'd go just with 4. I think 4 is better. Well, he's going to go with all of them.
Risky moves being made here. He may be pulling these units away from that main Nexus as he steps up, and we have first-person view of MaNa jumping out and getting back to work on taking that expansion.
And he got out with all of them. The reason why I think sometimes it's better with 4 than with all of them is because if you want to shoot at workers, having 5 Stalkers, like, it's impossible to 4 one-shot every single time. So all 5 will just overkill. And also 5 Stalkers make it harder for Stalkers to get out. They will start, you know, being in the shotter's way. 4 is just a magic number. Unless you actually want to win the game immediately, but that's not good. What a great move, man.
Pulls the army out, and you can see from MaNa's vision, he anticipates this. He has the Oracle there ready, sees the army, and immediately dives in.
Wow, MaNa's playing so much better than he did in game number 1 and game number 2, despite the fact that he did win game number 1. He's going to poke at one of these Immortals. No, he shouldn't be able to get it. Good micro there by elfi as well. He could have even tried to go into the main base again, Nate. Like, I know that the Oracle can only be at one place at a time, but with all the units out of position, and there is a new Mothership Core for elfi, but it didn't have enough energy yet for Photon Overcharge. I must say elfi did leave one Immortal in the main base. The Immortal is a little bit exposed though. I think he could jump on top of it, Nate.
And that's certainly a big opportunity available in front of him. He needs to be careful, though. He will not be able to blink out of the base if he uses his blinks defensively inside of the main.
Solid play there by elfi as well. I'm going to give credit where credit is due so far, making sure that he's never too far out of position, especially after losing the Mothership Core and the Observer. It could get very tricky. Small things like this is awesome, by the way. Just sniping a hallucinated Phoenix, keep your opponent in the dark. I love it. I love the way that both are playing right now. This is a very high-level PvP. It's awesome.
Yeah, and MaNa's only lost a single Stalker this game. Pretty impressive as well. The control has been top-notch as the Oracle steps in once again, grabs itself 3 probes, and boosts out.
Yep, Stalker's going to try to poke over here as well. Gets a Stalker. Not all that bad. First Colossus on the way though. elfi is very far ahead when it comes to the Colossus. So the only thing that MaNa has to worry about, Nate, is that he doesn't set himself up for a snare. elfi's going to do what MaNa did, by the way, I think on Coda. I think he's just going to run across the map with Immortals and Colossus and try to win the game. And I think for MaNa it's going to be very important to buy time with his Blink Stalkers. Snipe the probe that tries to drop pylons on the other side of the map. Try to maybe snipe the Mothership Core. Try to blink into the main base. Keep your opponent at home, because elfi is going to go up to 8 gateways and 2 Colossus, and he's just going to run across the map. MaNa is Stalkers. Okay, he's just checking for pylons right now. Make sure there's nothing there. MaNa needs to buy time for himself, man, because he's very far behind. How much will this hallucinated Phoenix see? This is so big. Will he see all the gateways? I don't think he did, Nate.
He's in a pretty tough spot. MaNa, he saw a couple of the gateways. He saw 2 of the ones that were being warped in inside of the main. Just 2. Not a whole lot there. And
he has to worry, man. Like
Robo Bay is done for him, so he's going to try to move into his own Colossi, but he needs time.
Yep. Okay, I still think that elfi is going to go for a big attack. He's not building any workers, he's waiting. elfi is just going to run across the map. He's going to try to win this game. This Phoenix will spot everything, and this is the cube. MaNa, what are you going to do? How are you going to deal with it? Also sees there's no third and fourth gas taken. If he wasn't sure yet, he's 100% sure right now. And look at the minimap. Stalkers are leaving immediately. I thought.
He's coming back. He's waiting to see, I guess, when the rocks start to get worked on. He wants to know where he's coming from.
Okay, army supply, it's actually in favor of MaNa, but elfi, of course, has all these gateways ready, so he can go for it. No, actually, it's in favor of elfi, excuse me, I was looking at the wrong tab. And he's going to be able to warp in units 8 at a time. I really would have loved to see MaNa be more active with these blinks.
Oh, the
he can get the probe. If he gets the probe, that's so big.
Yeah, no possibility for warp-ins here. The only pylon he has is in the center of the map. The Oracle goes into the main base, trying to keep and force some supply to stay home.
Oh, you could blink there maybe and try to work on that Colossus. I would go for it, MaNa.
Yeah. Colossus is alone and exposed. He jumps forward. Time warp gets dropped on the Stalkers.
It's good enough, though. It's good enough, Nate. MaNa still has a Photon Overcharge as well, correct? He's doing a really good job with these Stalkers. Like,
no.
Well,
run away. He does still have full energy on his Mothership Core. Very important to note.
Yep, you can Photon Overcharge, you can Time Warp, and let's not forget, MaNa is having his own Colossus as well run across the map. He's going to try to snipe that pylon, by the way, that's in the middle of the map. Photon Overcharge is being activated. The Stalker not being here. Of course, it's scary. Oh, if you kill that pylon, you kill elfi.
That's his only way to reinforce this right now. And he's just going to move the army in right to the natural of MaNa, trying to grab that Colossus. He will get it. Probes are being pulled. There's still huge Colossi here for elfi. The Oracle's going to try to get to work on the Colossus, but it's attacking a Stalker on the ground. Stalker's going to come in from behind for MaNa, but can he actually deal with these Colossi?
God. The Zealot count is so high right now for elfi. I think MaNa's in a little bit of trouble, even though his Colossus do survive. Oh my god, this is getting way too close. MaNa lost 11 workers there.
Worker count is still the same though.
Yeah, MaNa just, his Temple Archives finished up. He can warp in like 3 or 4 Archons, and that would be absolutely massive. There's Archon number 1. This is going to be very close, man.
This will help so much against that Zealot heavy army with the Spio splash damage.
But they're not ready yet. Those Archons are not ready yet, and MaNa needs to make sure his Colossus stays alive. His Colossus cannot die. He's pushing his own Archon into enemy territory. That's a little bit unfair.
Yeah, he's got the 2 Stalkers in the back trying to draw away some of the AI fire. Mothership Core does die. That Archon's a little choked up in the back. The Colossus still alive for MaNa.
2 Immortals went down there for MaNa. MaNa's losing more and more probes, but he is winning the battle, and hallucinated Colossus being used there. Zealot being warped in. MaNa warped in a High Templar, but he doesn't have another High Templar. The Stalker count is very high. Is elfi going to be able to do it over here?
He's going in. He's trying to snipe the Colossus. The second one pops out here for MaNa. He still has both Colossi alive. He's cleaning up the Zealots in his natural, but another warp in right in front of his face goes in. There's still the one Colossus. Needs to make sure he doesn't target the hallucinated one. The Immortal's soaking up so much damage. He's cleaned out the Stalkers. It's just versus the Zealots. He needs to get the Immortal on the Colossus. He needs to get the Immortals.
He saves the Immortal, the other Immortal. That Colossus is fake, and I think MaNa has done it. Wow, what a hold. With your tournament live on the line. Are you kidding me,
And he's
Nate?
still just barely behind in probes, 34 to 37. He holds his economy
Yeah.
intact with his
But
tech.
his army is so much stronger right now, Nate, and he has the 3rd and 4th gas, he has Templar Archives, he has +1. MaNa, oh, man, I can't believe it. That was so tense. Rarely do you see that in an elimination match. A battle being that close and that hard to call. Look at these 4 Stalkers, by the way. If he doesn't take too much splash damage, maybe he can even get the Colossus. Well, now Zealots are being wiped in.
He's going for it, and he will pick the Colossus
that's
off.
great.
A phenomenal play by MaNa.
Yep, and only ends up losing 2 Stalkers. Oh my god, what is the HP?
2 health and 1.
Wow. That's those are brothers in arms right there, Nate. That's you and me.
Well, immediately dying in the next fight, most likely. But
But
just go chill in the corner of the map now.
But we made some great plays and we are legends. That's all that matters. Now MaNa is marching across the map and he kept those Immortals alive. He kept that one Colossus alive. After he lost Colossus #1, things were looking so scary for him. It was such a difficult hold, but just great micro all around. And right now he's just right-clicking on the one Colossus of Elfi with his Immortals. And he's gonna do it, Nate. His dreams to play in Krakow will stay alive.
And MaNa will not let his dreams be dreams as he pushes through, killing off probes, killing off everything that Elfi has here, attempting to defend and just being so patient, not giving an inch to his opponent. That Colossus, all by its lonesome, will not be able to save the day.
I still can't believe how incredibly close that was. That was on the verge of snowballing out of control like 4 or 5 times. Colossus shooting at the plates there as well, but it doesn't really matter anymore. MaNa is going to be the player that will keep his WCS dreams alive as he moves on to the winners match where Marine Lord is waiting for him.
Wow. What a performance. Absolutely fantastic game 3 there, Todd. What a game.
Yeah, it started in a little bit of a weird way where MaNa was like, I'm going to try to use an Oracle with some Blink Stalkers to try and do some damage. And then he quickly saw that he was going to be up against the Nexus. Did some damage here and there with some fantastic control, but Elfi, in classic Elfi fashion, he was like, well, I got more Immortals, I got earlier Colossus. Maybe it's time to drop down the gates and do an attack.
Well, even just putting it big picture, I really like something that Rotterdam was talking about. Both these players played really, really well. Like that opening, like Todd talked about, very cool. Had to be very strategic. If he has one bad blink, that's it. He's behind an economy. He has blink tech to his advantage, but otherwise, all things are in favor of Elfi in the situation. But he's able to carve a kind of equal playing field, and just the sheer, micro battle that we saw in that fight over at MaNa's Natural. That was some cool stuff.
I mean, how difficult is it to be able to control your units so well in that type of situation? Everything is on the line, and one mistake and the game could have ended there for MaNa. How difficult is that?
It's
we have
really
no
hard.
idea.
There is so many factors that come into it. I think the fact that both of these players, they've been backstage playing non-stop since their previous matches, I think that really comes into play here, because this performance that you just saw from both players, they are playing as good, if not better, than what they do at home, which usually is very, very hard to reproduce at a tournament like this.
Okay, what we want to take a quick look at for you guys at home is the very last couple of moments of that game. Right now we're in, and this is when MaNa Todd finds what's going on, and then we're going to look at his reaction.
Yeah, he spots the gateways here that were made by Elfi. He's going to see that there is no additional gases on the Natural. That's a massive tail here that something's going to be headed for him soon, and that's going to be a massive army of Elfi. So he already starts thinking about how he's going to go about defending it. Already had started 2 additional gateways, but it's spotted kind of late. Like, you want to see these gateways ideally as they start, not as they just finish. Like, MaNa right now, he knows that he's in trouble.
I mean, he's 10 supply behind here, Todd, but he makes the difference work somehow.
Yeah, through the photon overcharge, through catching this Colossus, doing some damage to it, some good kiting. He got caught at some point just behind this here when Elfi moved in and time warped on top of his army. And for a moment, it really looked like MaNa was just going to die. But he was so resilient. You could tell this was not the one map where he was going to leave early ever.
Yeah, I mean, here's that moment in time. The Colossus is gone, a new one just comes out, but all the probes getting pulled, and most, or not all, but a lot of them dying right there. But then flanking with the Stalkers and picking off one of the 2 critical Colossus. And really, let's go back to that anchor of the 3 Immortals, too. Keeping them in the right position and having them hit the high targets like Stalkers, and I don't think they ever actually hit the Colossus, but they were just doing so much work for him there.
And it never ended. It continued to go on for a good couple of minutes here, Todd. This was all or nothing for Elfi.
Yeah, absolutely. It was now never. He didn't have gases on his Natural. If he had pulled back, MaNa could have rebuilt his economy. And now it still looked like he might have been able to do something behind this just because of all the warp-ins he was getting in. He kept on rewarping a lot of Stalkers. Actually, it might have been too many. I think if he had gone for maybe full Zealot and less Stalkers, he would have been able to finish it. But now going for this many Stalkers, you only do this when you're absolutely sure that you're about to end the game. And this is the pivotal moment where we realized that now MaNa still was maybe going to be able to hold and win. When that second Colossus came in, he microed everything perfectly. It looked like a Warcraft 3 game here for a moment.
And 2 of those 3 Immortals are still standing tall, and they actually go all the way to the end of this game. It's pretty incredible. And this is a big moment right here. Rotterdam was losing his stuff, and I loved it. Because to save that Immortal, look at how little health it has, but it does walk forward. The other thing about Immortals is we always talk about their tank or their damage output. I just killed my punchline. But they also tank really well. They absorb a lot of damage, and in these low micro moments like that, it's a big deal. And of course, here picking off 1 Colossus of the one that he had is a gigantic deal.
Absolutely fantastic play here from MaNa, and then he was able to walk across the other side of the map and pick up the 2-1 victory against elfi, and finds himself moving now forward to the decider match, which is going to be a difficult one. It's going up against Marine Lord. We know how good Marine Lord is. He's a hot prospect in the scene right now in the European scene. This is a great match, especially the way that MaNa just played. He showed excellent game.
It's nice to see this because the MaNa we saw on day 1, unfortunately, and we were kind of talking about this, it'd be such a shame if after him playing in Poland here and doing all this work, he would just face Zanster and get put down as hard as he did. So we see a great match here, and now he's got that real Titan. It's Marine Lord, who we wouldn't expect to have in that loser match. Zanster kind of upsetting the group. But I think I'll be interested to see when we go to predictions. I could see it being 8-0 from all of us, thinking that Marine Lord's got this easy in the bag. But MaNa's showing some life there, and I hope he gives him a fight.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. We are going to go to the bracket first, and then we'll go to the break. Let's see where we are now. Unfortunately, we have lost elfi. He's been eliminated from the Premier League. The first player to be kicked out here in the round of 16. Eliminated again for the second time this season. And it's now a battle of the M's as Marine Lord takes on MaNa in the decider match to see who is going to the playoffs with Zanster from Group A. A wonderful setting for the next match. We're going to go to that break, and when we return, who's going through, and sadly, who's going home.